while European rapeseed is mostly higher. Crude oil is also in negative territory after United States President-elect Donald Trump threatened to impose tariffs on the European Union if it did not buy more U.S. oil and gas. The Canadian dollar is up nearly 1/10 of a U.S. cent compared to Thursday's close. The March canola contract is up $6.80 per ton at $612.10. In the U.S., corn and soybeans are up, while wheat is steady to higher. Over the next 5 days, weather conditions in Argentina and central Brazil are expected to turn wetter, while those in northern Brazil would be drier. However, rains should come to northern Brazil soon after, while dry conditions would come to southern Argentina and southern Brazil. Heavily loaded barges on the upper Mississippi River will need to lighten their loads due to water level concerns. South Korean importers purchased 268,000 tons of corn last night, with at least 65,000 coming from the U.S. The March corn contract is up 4 U.S. cents per bushel at $4.45. China imported 7.15 million tons of soybeans in November, with 2.79 million coming from the U.S., up 21.8% from last year. Brazil was the leading source at 3.94 million tons. From January to November, China imported 97.09 million tons of soybeans, with 71.7 million from Brazil and 17.88 million from the U.S. China Sinograin purchased 500,000 tons of U.S. soybeans this week for shipment in March and April. The January soybean contract is up 13 U.S. cents per bushel at $9.76, while the March contract is up 13 U.S. cents per bushel at $9.79. Strategy Grains estimated the U.S. wheat crop to be 126.6 million tons for 2025-26, compared to 114.2 million in 2024-25. Russia has set its wheat export quota at 10.6 million tons from February 15th to June 30th. This was reduced from 29 million tons last year due to inflation and to protect domestic supplies. A South Korean importer purchased 86,800 tons of wheat from the U.S. overnight. The March Chicago wheat contract is down 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $5.31. The March Kansas City hard red wheat contract is up 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $5.44. The March Minneapolis spring wheat contract is up 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.90. That's a look at the ICE futures in U.S. markets for Friday, December 20th. In Winnipeg from MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Pelashati. Have a happy holiday season. This is the MarketsFarm.com morning show, broadcast number 193 for Friday, December 20th. I'm Adam Pelashati. The ICE futures canola market is higher on Friday morning amidst weakness in comparable oils.
With all that snow out there, you're going to need Butler Farm Equipment. Stop in and check out their lineup of snow removal equipment, including walking behind snow blowers for tractors, snow buckets, sand spreaders, snow blades, plus snow wings for tractors and skid steers. Tackle snow days with ease with help from Butler Farm Equipment. Decades of delivering great service in the Peace region. See them on 107th Street in Fort St. John or visit them online at butlerfarmequipment.ca.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Welcome to This Week in the Peace. Today is the last show of 2024. In order to mark the occasion, we've brought in our region's MP, Bob Zimmer, to discuss some local stuff like a recent new contract issued for maintenance of parts of the Alaska Highway and more far-reaching issues like the breakdown of the Liberal cabinet and the federal government in general. Bob, how are you doing today?
Good to be back.
Absolutely. Glad to have you back. So to start, I want to ask you real quick what your reaction is to everything that's happening regarding the federal government right now. Chrystia Freeland stepped down as deputy PM a few days ago. There have been talks of a vote of no confidence. What's your take on everything that's happening?
Yeah, it was quite a busy week. So Monday morning, it feels like it's been weeks ago when it all started, but it was just Monday. We were expecting a fall economic statement to be read off that afternoon to see how bad the deficit was going to be. We had predicted it was going to be more than $40 billion. That was really the focus of what we were looking at. And then that morning we saw Chrystia Freeland, the finance minister and deputy prime minister, resign. Mm-hmm. And so it really threw the Liberals into a bit of a tizzy about what was going on. We didn't know who the finance minister was going to be or who was going to read the statement. It turns out the deficit was as bad as we thought it was going to be. It was $62 billion. And I'd say not the opposition, but the current government is we don't know where they're going. It's
Right.
they're in a bit of a mess, and again, we hear of cabinet shuffle that's going to happen in the next coming days. We've heard some names that are being floated around and potential new ministers. So, an interesting week in Ottawa for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. There's been a lot of talk from both sides of the aisle of having an election, having a no confidence vote. Do you think now is the right time for that?
Yeah, well, we've been trying that since we got back in September, is bringing forward motions of non-confidence. And every time, again, the question or the pressure we've been really putting on is Jagmeet Singh, because he's in opposition. He's a member of the opposition, is a part of the leader of the NDP. And it was really him that's been enabling Justin Trudeau to stay in power. So we've been putting a lot of pressure on him, and he's just always kept supporting Justin Trudeau. There's comments that I've heard that he's made today, even that the first opportunity he's going to vote with us, and then that vote of non-confidence. And as I said to Dub earlier, I'll believe that when I see it. He's promised that a few times before, that the agreement that was written between him and Justin Trudeau, he tore up. Some might remember that. That wasn't that long ago, but then he still voted for the government. So we'll see. We're ready for an election. I'd say we've been ready for a long time. I think Canadians are ready for that election too. And it seems like as the weeks progress and go along, it just gets worse for the NDP Liberals. So we'll see. Our hopes would be early spring. It's scheduled right now to be in fall of 2025. So Canadians are ready for change.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Now, you said, like you were talking about this morning, Singh shared a letter saying the NDP will put forward a clear motion of non-confidence at the next sitting of the House of Commons. You said you're not particularly optimistic that he's actually going to do that. In the event that that actually happens, how's the Conservative Party going to respond, do you think?
Oh, I think we'll vote in support of that motion of non-confidence. So however it comes about, we're going to make sure that we go into an election. We're going to call it the carbon tax election. And even I predicted this a few weeks ago, is that Jagmeet will try and pull it down, the government down on his own terms. Mm-hmm. And he'll have to stand on something that to save some face for his own voters. He's at risk in his own riding, even of losing if he doesn't stand up to Justin Trudeau. So my hope, I guess I am a little bit optimistic that he's really going to do it, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. In the event of a vote of non-confidence like that, or even as it comes to fall 2025, are you personally planning to run for re-election around here?
Yes. So I've already put my name forward in the nomination. And we've already gone through that process. Our party's looking at all the incumbent MPs were already nominated, and now we're just looking at those unheld ridings. We're just getting those filled with candidates that will want to run for us next election.
For sure, absolutely. You mentioned that when this election eventually comes around, it's going to be, in your words, the carbon tax election.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, I see it in two kind of ways. I see it locally, how much the carbon tax costs us. And it's not that, we have means in our, we have people that make decent livings here from oil and gas and the oil and gas sector. And some would argue that it can be afforded. But I see a lot of people they say we have good jobs, but for some reason we're running out of money by the end of the month. And they say, well, what used to make it through, and I go out on holidays, or we could, had a little bit left at the end of the month to save or whatever, just is gone. So the carbon tax is affecting even those with decent jobs. But what I'm seeing, it's especially unfair though. People in like Fort St. John, Fort Nelson, the territories, is you're putting a carbon tax on things like natural gas and home heating when we really don't have a choice. It's one thing, carbon tax is supposed to be kind of like a sin tax. It's supposed to push you into another alternative that's better for the environment. The problem with that is we have no other choices here. We have a choice between natural gas or propane, and in the northern communities, it's diesel or heating oil. So there's really no other option. So why is the government punishing us who are just trying to survive cold winters in the north? And I just think it's unfair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. As you mentioned, it's the idea behind the carbon tax. It's supposed to be a sin tax to push you towards.
Well, I'll say the second part to that is what the Prime Minister has said and argued all along. It's supposed to reduce emissions, but it isn't. It hasn't been. The fact of the matter is, all it's put us in, so it hasn't reduced emissions. It's costing Canadians, especially in the north, in an unfair way. And meanwhile, we have other jurisdictions around the world that we compete with, that we sell our natural resources to. They don't have carbon tax.
Yeah.
Right. Especially our neighbor to the south, the Americans, they don't have a carbon tax. So here we're kind of putting this, this uncompetitive position on our own resource sector here. And that's who we're competing with, another jurisdiction who doesn't have one. It puts us in an unfair position is what I'm saying. So
For sure.
It's unfair on many levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So looking at the idea of reducing emissions and at, pushing people towards other more environmentally sound maybe options, are there alternatives to the carbon tax that are being proposed by the Conservatives?
Well, our position's been, Shannon Stubbs is our natural resource minister, but Pierre as well, us as well as, look, we have natural gas. If you really want to look at world emissions, because really you have to look at the planet in its entirety, the way we can reduce emissions isn't through things like carbon taxes. It's really through getting a lower emitting energy to jurisdictions that need that energy. So if we get natural gas to places like in Asia, like Japan, China, even Europe is asking for our natural gas, Germany. If we get those lower emitting forms of energy, we will reduce emissions because often their option is using thermal coal to make their energy. So we can reduce their emissions, of up to 50% by getting our natural gas. So that would be our response to reducing emissions is let's get our natural gas to the jurisdictions that need them.
For sure. Absolutely. One of the other things that has come up, obviously, you mentioned the NDP and the Liberals. They had that agreement for a long time where basically they would agree to vote the same way on everything.
Yes.
The NDP claim they've ripped that up, but they've continued to vote for the Conservatives. Now saying that there's going to be a vote of non-confidence. In the event that vote of non-confidence happens and there is an election, when the dust settles, has there been any discussion between the Conservatives and the NDP about forming a similar agreement?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I haven't heard of anything. Usually we're standing alone in Parliament by ourselves, standing in opposition to the government. Often we're finding ourselves, this is the strange position I've been in many times, is the NDP sits right beside me in the House, is we're often arguing with them because they're supporting what Justin Trudeau's. They're actually debating in the House in support of the government.
Right.
Which opposition parties rarely do. So it's been this really strange situation where they're actually standing up for the government. No, I can't see that. Right now, Pierre's we all have got a pretty clear focus on what Canadians want. They want change. And what Pierre has been talking about, common sense, has been really resonating with Canadians across the country. Wherever we go, it's resonating. I think we're on a pretty good track, percentage-wise too. Not that we completely put our trust in the polling, but it's looking good for what we're saying. This is what our plan for Canada is.
Right.
And Canadians support our plan. So, no, I think we'll stay focused on what we plan to do and go from there.
For sure. Obviously, the carbon tax is the big thing, especially around here, affecting a lot of people. Are there any other specific things that the Conservatives are planning to run on in the event of an election? Any other major platform points you want to touch on?
Well, there's a lot of things that we do well. We stand up for law-abiding hunters and sport shooters around firearms. I think that's a significant thing that people care about even in our riding. It's one thing that I ran into when I went to the territories. It's Indigenous communities and Northern communities were very upset with what Justin Trudeau was proposing with the OIC and the firearm bans. And they because that's, often the Canadian Rangers, I'll use this example in Cambridge Bay. We were up speaking to Canadian Rangers that are Nunavummiut, and they use SKS firearms. They use them to hunt, and they use them basically to bring home supper and feed their families. So some of those laws that again, those regulations that Justin Trudeau's bringing in is affecting their livelihoods. And it, it's unfortunate that he's focusing really on the wrong individuals, focus on what's causing crime, not law-abiding firearms owners. So that's one aspect. That's one thing we're doing. Be pro-resource development too. We've seen the direction. We've lost mills here in Fort St. John, and it's all around things like caribou closures, things like carbon tax, which makes what used to be affordable fiber, like trees that mills can actually make money with by making lumber with. Now they're finding it difficult to make money with that same fire because it's expensive now. And I think we need to get back to being a pro-resource development nation instead of what we've seen really the last 10 years. It seems like it's more of an anti-resource government. So no, there's some things on that side I think is our way out of the situation that we're in. We've got record amount of debt and deficit as well. And I think the way we turn it around is we get back to what we used to be good at, and that's developing our resources and doing it responsibly. None really do it better in the world than Canadians, right? We do it. We've come a long ways in developing our energy sources in a clean way. And instead of being ashamed of what we do, we should be proud of it. And we are. And we just think we should do more of it.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with some more talking about some other local issues with Bob Zimmer on This Week in the Piece in just a moment.
Attention truck lovers, it's your last chance to grab a 2024 Silverado or Sierra 1500 at a price you won't believe, only at Murray GM in Fort St. John.
Wow.
We've got just 7 left on the lot, each with huge instant savings you can't get anywhere else. Plus, an extra $500 holiday bonus available on select models. Now, if you're allergic to savings and you want to wait for the 2025 models, we've got those too. New units are arriving every week. Don't miss out. Visit murraygmc.com today. Some exclusions do apply.
Unwrap gifts on Christmas morning in a newly updated living room with a little help from Bronze Flooring. During their 2020 sale, on now until December 23rd, you'll save 20% on area rugs, Benjamin Moore paint, and their entire Lamberger collection. Plus, get 20 cents off per square foot on all in-stock vinyl planks. Deck the halls this holiday season with the 2020 sale, on now till December 23rd at Bronze Flooring, in the Big Bronze Building on 96th Avenue or online at bronzeflooring.ca.
When we say there's always something going on in the Energetic City, we mean it. The staff at the City of Fort St. John's Recreation Department always have a variety of exciting programs and events planned all year long. Swims and skates, camps and contests. You can find something happening throughout the city at the Pomeroy Sports Center, the North Peace Leisure Pool, Centennial Park, or the Cultural Center. For more, visit the City of Fort St. John Recreation page on Facebook or fortstjohn.ca.
There's always something going on at Chance's Fort St. John.
Hey, Leanne here, General Manager at Chance's Fort St. John, where we have a lot going on this holiday season, including Wednesday Wings and Wisdom. Join us every Wednesday for delicious wings and trivia night. Test your skills and don't forget to book a table. Then on Friday, it's karaoke in the vault starting at 7 p.m. You can also join us for our lunch buffet. It's fast, fresh, delicious, and during the holiday break, kids eat free. Then meet your friends for a happy hour from 2 to 5 p.m. daily with $5 drink specials. We even have bingo every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Enjoy the holidays at Chance's Fort St. John, your place for entertainment. Must be 19 plus. Use your game sense. Know your limit. Play within it.
There's always something going on at Chance's Fort St. John.
The City of Fort St. John's 12 Days of Moosemas is on now. We're spreading holiday cheer and supporting local businesses with daily prize giveaways until Christmas Eve. Here's how it works. Listen weekdays to Moose FM because every weekday we'll feature a different local business and give you a secret code word. When you hear it, head to moosefm.ca. or the Moose FM app to enter. Don't miss the City of Fort St. John's 12 Days of Moosemas, starting Monday, only on 100.1 Moose FM.
Moose Country weather.
Today, a high of minus 27, mix of sun and cloud. With the wind chill, it feels like minus 26, though. Later tonight, periods of light snow mixed with ice pellets and minus 16. It's also going to feel like minus 18 overnight. Tomorrow, sun comes out with a little bit of cloud, a high of minus 13. And on Sunday, you can expect a high of minus 10 with a mix of sun and cloud.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve, here again with Bob Zimmer, the MP for our region. Bob, I want to pivot away from federal politics for a moment to talk. It's been a couple of weeks now since the provincial election. We have a conservative MLA here in the North East. You endorsed Jordan Keeley. What's your reaction to those election results?
I was pleased as a conservative that they are as strong as they are. We were hoping that there would be a change in terms of sort of the Conservatives having the premier and having sort of the reins of the province, because the last number of years has been very difficult for us in the resource sector. And, we talked about federal, the sort of impacts of sort of a negative view on resource development. Well, that's been happening at the provincial level, and they're much more impactful, those decisions from Victoria, actually. And again, we've lost, I think, 24 mil since 2016 because of some of these decisions. So I'm pleased they've come as far, the conservative movement in the province has come as far as it has, but it's still got a ways to go.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Have you been in contact with Keeley at all? We spoke with him on This Week in the Piece last week, I believe. And he was telling us a bit about sort of what the process has been like for him learning to be an MLA.
Yeah.
Have you been talking with him at all?
Yeah. We used to chat a little bit before he was even running. He was a regional district representative, and so we would chat just as and he was always wanting to chat about different things. What would you do here? What would you do there? But there's a lot to learn when you first get the job. We just talked with Kyle Giddens and Rosalind Bird and Prince George, the two reps there that have replaced the former MLAs, and then Larry Neufeld as well in Dawson. No, they've got a ways to go. There are things to learn, obviously. There's a lot of work to be done, and just wish them all.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. A couple of weeks ago, again, looking sort of at federal policy rather than changes in the government, some new contracts were awarded for maintenance of parts of the Alaska Highway up here in the north. Can you walk me through a bit of what that process looked like and why Lead Core Highway Maintenance was chosen for that?
Well, I'm not even aware of that. So I knew the groups that were there before. There was, I think it was White Bear was there, and I don't know if they're still there, because there's I don't know if the listeners know, there's really two sort of sections. There's a provincially managed section of the highway from Fort St. John to Fort Nelson, and a section of that is federal. And again, that's news to me that they got that. So I guess my perspective on it is it's a serious, whoever gets the contract though, the lives are at stake, and the highway needs to be maintained in a way that's safe for our residents to drive. It's a very weather affected road, and we just need to make sure it's maintained at the best standard it can absolutely be. So whoever that is, that's the challenge to them, is we need it done in an excellent way.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In your opinion, living here for the past however many years, have you felt that that's an area that really needs to improve the maintenance of that part of the highway?
Well, and I've gone up there, but I'm not a resident of Fort Nelson, so I go up there, about 4 times a year, and about 2 or more times in the winter. And I've seen it when I've gone up, it's been good, but I've also heard that some I get the complaints too when people say I can't get in. It's usually not the main stretch of the Alaska Highway that's typically is the problem, even though I've heard challenges there. It's usually the roads that are the arteries off that main highway that are the challenge, and to get to them in a way so people can actually get out and get to work and get to maybe services that they need, it can be challenging. So no, I guess that's the challenge to any contractor. They need to do an excellent job. That's what's expected of them, and trust that they'll do exactly that.
For sure. Absolutely. As you can probably tell, looking at the decorations here in the office, we're coming up on
Christmas.
the holidays now.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're only a few days away now from the most wonderful time of the year. Do you have any...
Here. You like Christmas too. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Same,
absolutely. Do you have any sort of message for your constituents as we come up on that?
Yeah, I mean, just Merry Christmas, ultimately. I don't know what time we have left, but... No, it's. I usually take the chance. We have a mail out, and I usually talk about the Christmas story, whether it's Bible from Isaiah or from Luke, about the birth of a Savior, coming to save the world, right? And it's just a reminder of there's hope for our country, hope for our world. That regardless of what we're struggling with, there's still there's hope, and I think that's what's reminded. That reminds me every year, and it kind of brings warmth to our hearts. But I know there's just, people are struggling out there, so I say that, I've got a good life, and I'm sure you do as well. You have a place to stay and food to eat, but there's other ones that are struggling, and it's hard for them at times this time of year too. But I guess that's the hope that I have, is that ultimately we have a hope and a savior at Christmas, and again, Christmas reminds us of that, so it's cool.
100%. Looking forward to the year ahead, obviously with Christmas comes the new year a few days later. Is there anything in specific you want to call attention to that's coming up in the new year? Anything you're looking forward to? The floor is yours.
Yeah. So I'm getting up to the Northwest Territories again. I'll be traveling around the riding. We just did some open houses in Prince George and Dawson yesterday. Getting up to the Territories in my role as Northern Affairs Shadow Minister. Before we return to the house. So again, trying to get out there and just meeting people and hear what those issues are. I think what I'm really, probably 80% of my mind is looking forward to we form government and be ready with that formation, that we're ready to go day one. And there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. And so that's, again, my focus. And what kind of policies do we need to see our country get moving again? The economy going, the resource sector going again, and how do we actually have that happen? And, even in our own area here with mining and forestry, again, it's on its knees. How do we get that back to where it's prosperous again? So that's kind of my focus. And what we can do to get us back to there, but preparing too for spring session and possibly an election. We're ready to go. We have signs. Our brains are already ready to roll. And where else we can help out to? What other ridings we can help out across the country? So we give our leader best chance of being successful. And Pierre's good. I mean, he just gave that speech. I don't know if some saw it on Monday, and. He's a great leader, and some see him as this, this tough guy at times, and he can be a tough guy, but he really cares about our country, and you can hear his emotion in the speech. And I thought, isn't that cool? Because they need to really hear that he's a dad, he's a husband, son, and he wants to get our country back to that sort of prosperous nation we used to be. So anyway, no, that's our hope. Is we're working hard so we can get I said it yesterday to somebody, we're just fighting to get to the start line. And once we hopefully win that election, then now it's day one. Now we have to get to work and get the work done. But no, I wanted to say this to you guys because I want to say thanks for what you do, because there's local media is not what it used to be, and you're still one of those stations that still produces local content and gives good local coverage, and kudos to you for doing it. It's not an easy job. I know you're not becoming millionaires by doing it. So thanks for what you guys do too. And Adam too is your owner, and he's a great local advocate for our community. So thanks for what you do.
Absolutely. We're happy to do it. Coming out of here, last question for the day.
Sure.
If people have questions, concerns, anything like that, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll just say this. I know it's a quick answer. A lot of people wonder how to get a hold of us, and they think that I'm in this faraway place in Ottawa, but we're just as close as a phone call or email away. All they need to do is, anybody ever wants to sit down and talk to me, they just need to phone our office, pick one of the numbers off the web, and we'll connect you. And whether you're in Prince George, Fort St. John, Fort Nelson, Chetwynd, just let me know you want to meet, and happy to anytime. We're that close. If you want to ask me a very important question, we get letters all the time. We try and respond to them all in a quick, give them a quick response, but we're busy. But that's the way to get a hold of us. Happy to chat with constituents any day.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Bob. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Always happy to have you. That was Bob Zimmer. Thank you for tuning in. You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North, as well. That's our show. I'm Steve Berard.
And I'm Dub Craig. A very happy holiday to you and Merry Christmas from all of us here at This Week in the Peace. Happy New Year!
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.